Hi, my name is Bennett with Answers Not Excuses Fitness Training. Today is Trainer Tip Tuesday, and what we're going to do today is go over an exercise called a side skater. You may have done this exercise before, but what we're going to do is actually go over an entry-level way in order to figure out that coordination, the exercise itself, and then a couple advanced variations for you to try out. So if you haven't been working out and you need to lose weight, and this is an exercise you want to eventually get up to, this is going to be an excellent way for us to start that. So what I want you to do is we're going to step one way a little bit longer than you normally would if you're trying to reach for something. And as we step, we're going to pick up that other side knee and just balance for a second. I'm going to push it back that way and bring this one up. So I'm going to end up going back and forth like I'm stepping over something basically. When I do that, I'm going to pull my knee up and across for balance and to let tension off my knees. I'm actually going to turn my foot out just a little, just shading it out just a little to allow for that to happen. What's happening when I pull my knees up is I'm forcing my hip into extension, basically just all the way through to get a full contraction, and we're going to end up feeling this in your butt. Now to do the actual side skater, it's going to be that same kind of idea. It's just going to be sped up a little bit, and for the most part you're going to be jumping side to side, and you want to pretend like you're kind of jumping over a ravine or on the two platforms that are slanted into each other. So if I keep leaning in towards the center while I'm doing this, I'm going to actually be able to load my leg up that I'm jumping towards, and I'm going to be able to spring back right away. So this is not something I would try if you don't feel stable and you haven't got that first exercise down. That's not where I would start. If you're having problems being stable just doing lunges, especially when you're not fatigued, I wouldn't try this yet either. But a side skater, what that's going to be just by itself, we're just going to jump laterally as far as I can, and then I'm going to end up loading my hip up, bending down in a squat, and springing back the other way. Ideally, I'm just going to go side to side to side. So I'm going to come over this way. I can even reach down if I want and going side to side here. You're having to stop all your momentum to catch yourself. And if I load up that hip, I can keep going a little bit quicker. If I come over and I have to balance, it's gonna make it less energy efficient. It's gonna be a little bit different of an exercise. Depending on what your objective is and what you're trying to get done will depend on what you're gonna do with that. So let's say that's too intense right now. What you could do is kind of work on a different version of that where you're almost doing a reverse crossover lunge. So you're still gonna step, you kind of reach behind you, leaving this foot on the ground, coming back to the other side and doing the same thing. So you're not jumping here, but you are still loading up your hips, crossing that over. The difference here is I'm not able to lean in. I'm actually leaning out a little bit, so I'm not able to load this knee and this hip the same way, but that's going to be a great segue in order to get to that. If you have some things at your disposal, for example, maybe a couple of balance pads or RX pads, you can also introduce those too. I really like doing this version as well. In a lot of different action here with my ankle, working on balance. So what we can do with this is the exact same exercise. So you starting on this, since it's unstable, maybe you get them closer together and do this same exercise you just did, just because this is unstable. If you feel comfortable with that, you could start jumping. Maybe instead of touching the floor, you're touching the balance pad. Since this is unstable and I want to remain stable, I'm going to be doing this and not able to spring back quite as quickly, just to make sure that I keep this where I need to be. So maybe you don't have that balance pad available to you. You have a BOSU available though. Those are super common. You could start out on this advanced version, just kind of reaching over, trying to pull your knee up and come back, trying to hold that position, depending on what you're comfortable with. So if you started here and you felt good with that, you could explode this way too and then just come back to balance. So there are a lot of different variations you can do. You don't even need any special equipment. So once you start stringing these together, you can even use them for conditioning, depending on what your objective is or where you're at. Again, if you don't have very good stability in your glutes all the way down through your ankles, these are gonna be a little bit harder, but that's why you can start with those entry-level versions of this and build yourself up from there. So that was Trainer Tip Tuesday, and I hope you found that helpful.